Thank you everyone for coming. Happy Wednesday. So just a little bit about COLABS first. This is a space where we try to promote anything and everything ecosystem related, as well as making it a platform for discovery, for adventures, for discussions, for learning, for entertainment. Lahore के बारे में मशहूर है. There's not much to do in Lahore except eating and going to movies. So COLABS also wants to fill that gap as a byproduct, while also being a central platform in helping startups to set up, scale up. And that's the discussion that we have here today as well. That how does one identify the success and create a model for startups that works? We have two amazing panelists with us today. On my right is Islam Shauki. He is the co-founder and CEO of Paymob. He's also a member of the board of trustees for the Technology Innovations and Entrepreneurship Center, and he's passionate about building innovative large-scale technologies that can empower masses, startups, and even SMEs to become digitally literate, and especially in emerging markets, finding that financial freedom. Okay. Then next to him, we have the very famous Mr. Badr. Mr. Badr has been, sorry about that. Mr. Badr has been the co-founder and is the VP of Growth at Bramers. It's a very well-known name in the digital marketing world of Pakistan and Lahore. Bramers is also considered one of the leading digital agencies, as well as a graduation school for everyone who wants to learn digital marketing. I come from advertising. Every other person I know has graduated through the Bramers channel as well. From Bramers, he has stemmed out into two product ventures, which are fishfree.com, which is for an e-commerce, and Publisher, which is a content management system. Badr Khushnood has also served as the former chairman of PASHA, Pakistan Software House Association, and he has the honor of being the Pakistan country consultant at Twitter and Google. So I'm just going to hand this over to them. Then maybe you want to do some additions to the intro, and we're going to then take it off into what makes a startup successful.
So first of all, I'm super excited to be here. This is my first visit to Pakistan and my second day in Lahore, and actually I was just talking to the team. I'm super excited about the place and COLABS, and about the sheer size of the place and the demand for startups. So thank you for the kind introduction. I'm Islam Shauki. I'm one of the co-founders of Paymob. So what we do as Paymob exactly is that we try to build the infrastructure to enable SMEs, startups, and businesses to accept digital transactions and give them better access to financial services. So at our core, we believe that, SMEs and startups are the future. They are the ways for emerging markets to actually improve and become competitive on the global landscape. And if we are bullish about this notion of digital economy, then we should be bullish about digital payments, because at the end of the day, you need to sell a service, sell a good. There should be a payment infrastructure that is catered to you, that would enable you to monetize. And we try to fill this gap of digital transactions, and definitely we are just one stakeholder of the digitization journey. That's why I'm super excited to be with my fellow colleague here about website builders, and Fishery is a great brand in website building, and I hope together with a lot of other, whether payment companies or website builders, we can create this digital ecosystem that would enable businesses flourish and go online.
Assalamu alaikum ji. Thank you so much for the introductions, and thank you Umar for hosting us as always. So Pakistan has about 15,000 tech companies registered with SECP. These are the formal companies registered with Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan. Out of these 15,000, 6,000 IT companies export every year, some kind of IT or software services. The value of that export last year was $2.6 billion, which was documented as an inbound remittance in Pakistan. We believe these companies earn at least 3 to 5x more, which is kept abroad, because once they bring in their dollars in Pakistan, they can't really take them out for any payment. So they keep at least 3 to 5x out of the country. So I think there's a huge opportunity for us to help, and e-commerce is where I think we both intersect very well. And to that perspective, in Pakistan, anyone has an idea how many SMEs do we have? How many small businesses does Pakistan have? Okay, let's take a global perspective first. What's the population of Singapore? So Singapore's population is about 5 million people. The total number of SMEs alone in Pakistan is 5 million out of 220 million population. So just imagine the number of SMEs in Pakistan is equivalent to the size of the whole country, like Singapore. Brunei is 600,000 people. These are small countries, but we all know their names. They're big in some level of business activity or something. So for example, the productivity, just imagine the productivity per capita in Singapore. The total exports of 5 million people of Singapore is $370 billion. $370 billion. Pakistan's total export of 220 million people is around $25 billion. So just imagine the productivity per capita. Singapore has to import drinking water from Malaysia. We have every natural resource possible, from sunlight to water, running water to wood to marble to whatever we can think of. There's something massively wrong at our macroeconomic and policy level which really doesn't help us grow. And I think that's an opportunity for startups. So challenge the status quo is critical to startups. And I think as we move forward, I'll talk about it, but I think e-commerce space where we both are trying to enable those SMEs to go online and bring efficiency to their businesses, whether it's financial payments or logistics or tech stack or marketing or whatever, is something which is not pure tech, but it is tech enabling everything else. I think that's the space we both are really excited to work in together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm just going to try to bring the macro to a micro and then maybe zoom out. So I just wanted to ask, if there's somebody on the first step where they just have an idea, they want to turn it into, let's say, a successful model, how soon do they need to start thinking about digital transformation, what they need to opt for in the future, or like what's the first initial considerations that they should be wary of?
I think a startup today, I'm sorry, I'm just taking the lead, but as a startup today in Pakistan, if you're starting up and you're not thinking digital first, you don't need to think digital transformation, you should be digitally first. Yes. I mean, digital transformation is for those who are already in business for a few years, for a few decades, and they need to now transform processes or automate themselves or digitize themselves. But anyone starting today, if it's not digital first, you're certainly not at par. You're certainly doomed to go down reasonably quickly.
A lot of people, they don't look at this scale kind of within the problem or within the market they're solving for. And I think right now, given the digital first approach, people need to think of going global from the start. Yeah, you guys here in Pakistan, you have a massive business. However, you have access to a lot of talents, a lot of tech talents, a lot of like places like COLABS where you can just have your team over there. So the way to export this, I think you have a lot easier to and access to a lot of resources that you can make use of. So thinking of solving problems not only in Pakistan but problems around the world, and that's why you can see like a lot of SaaS companies expanding globally. So a lot of the products that we use, we don't actually know where they are built. Maybe they're built here, maybe they're built like around us. But at the end of the day, these companies that are digitizing millions of, whether it's SMEs or products that are being used by tens of millions of people, they're solving a mega problem. So that's another problem. So I feel like having a problem, a market that's scalable, and definitely the team. So I don't think that anyone should found a company on his or her own, because I don't think a person has what it takes to build a company. So you need to find partners that share your values, share your ethics, but they're different somehow than you, they complement you. So I think this is like the three main things that are needed, and I cannot emphasize more about the team, because trust me, like I'm sure you guys have built or are building companies. It's not an easy way, it's very challenging, and you'll be tested, like you and your partners, and like never before. So you need people who you can trust and that you are aligned on the vision, because the road is going to be extremely hard and extremely challenging, especially at these times that we're living.
And so find a problem that's big enough that it's valued around the market and for yourself as well. And then when you entered Pakistan, you definitely would have thought retail was perhaps an industry that needs that kind of solutions. What were the earlier barriers to entry when you were trying to get in your foot in the door in the Pakistani market?
So for us, it wasn't barriers as much as that. So Pakistan is a very big market. So the problem that we're solving is digitizing payments for SMEs. I mean, there are 5 million of them. So for us, in order to start, you can start small. So this is why we delayed our international expansion. Pakistan is our first market. And why it's our first market? Because in order to have digital payments, you need two sides. There's the issuance, what we call the issuance side, which is like cards, plastic cards, wallets, BNPLs, all of this, like sources of fund. And you need the other side, merchants or SMEs trying to accept these payment instruments. So philosophically, if we put a POS or a QR code in every single SME, if people don't have anything to, like a digital way to buy, then it's just a piece of just a QR, that's a sticker that's staying there on the counter, so nobody's gonna make use of it. So Pakistan, the beauty about Pakistan is there's the issuance business. So banks and wallets, whether Jazz or EasyPesa or startups like NiPay and Sada, they've done a great job on the issuance side, but the acceptance piece is a bit lagging. So you have tens of millions of cards, you have tens of millions of wallets. However, on the other side, you have 80, 90,000 POSs in the hands of 35, 40,000 merchants out of the 5 million. So there's a huge room to grow. So why we delayed this? Because we knew this is a big challenge. And in order to capture it, you need to scale. And for you to scale, you need to invest a lot. So that's why we waited until we did our last fundraise in May, because we wanted to have this financial power in order to be able to come and scale the market.
Paymob has, I think, 40 plus retailing products that are there available for the retailers. What has worked well as a product in Pakistan, and why do you, like, what's the easier adopted product from Paymob?
So to start, I mean, like, to add to the discussion, that, I mean, digitization is not an end in itself. It's a mean to an end. So when you explain to any merchant, whether it's a brick and mortar, a legacy business, or a new startup, I mean, you need to make use of the instruments of mobile and of this connected world that we live in order to scale and grow the business. So what we try to help, so our main mission is growing businesses. So when we try to convince them to have an online shop so that we can integrate with and have online payment, so we tell them, like, let's assume, I mean, I'm a fashion store, I have a store here in the street in Lahore. So I'm constrained in the number of people that would pass by my shop in order to, this is my market for me, the people who are passing by the shop to buy from me. However, if I have an online shop, then all of Pakistan can buy from me, and not only Pakistan, I can export. The whole world can buy from me if I offer something that those people want. So to increase your target addressable market, you need to go digital, you need to go online. And in the sense of digital payments, it's the same logic. So if I only accept cash, this means that I can only sell to people who at this instant have amount of rupees that is needed to buy this product. However, this is not always the case, and especially with inflation. So what we've seen is that whenever there is inflation, so people are definitely, it's not a good thing to see prices increase. However, this push for digitization, because first, people are not going to carry hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of whether it's PKRs or Egyptian pounds, because it's the same happening in Egypt. So the ticket sizes have increased drastically. I mean, a mobile phone, like an iPhone in Egypt, is like worth 40, 50,000 pounds. Nobody's gonna walk with like 50, this size of a wallet. So it doesn't make sense. So when pricing are increasing, we see digitization. When pricing increasing, we see people using the credit system more and more, whether it's using their credit cards, consumer finance, buy now, pay later, even just having access to their bank accounts via their debit cards in order to pay rather than just carry cash around. So we go to the merchant or the SME and we tell them, I mean, how many times this week someone bought something and when they were checking out at your store or online, they abandoned the checkout or they asked to pay with card and you said we don't. Actually, we were just yesterday at a pharmacy and he told me that around 35 times this week this happened. And I told him what happened afterwards. He told me like 50% of them either had cash, so they paid in cash, or I told them there's an ATM nearby, so they went to the ATM and came back. And I told them what happened with the other 50. So they told me like they say they're gonna go to the ATM, but they didn't come back. So imagine the revenue loss because you're only constraining yourself in cash. So for us at Paymob, what we do is that we try to enable as many payment methods and funding sources as we can. So don't only think of us as like card acceptance. So there are cards, there are wallets, there are BNPLs. We integrate with any funding source, any payment method, because we believe that the more funding sources, the more the probability of a sale happening, so the more the merchant would grow. And our motto is always never miss a transaction. So we enable our merchants to never miss a transaction. And we believe by doing so, with actually helping them grow. And this is the bottom line, and this is the end. Like the mean is digital payment and digitization, but the end is grow. Any merchant, any institution in the world, they want to make more bottom line, they want to increase their revenues and their profits. So when we started the company, actually it's a quick funny story. I mean, we actually were not building a payments company, we were building an e-commerce play. We wanted, actually the beginning of Paymob is that we wanted people to build like an affiliate kind of like social commerce play on Facebook and Instagram to enable people to monetize their influence, like influencer kind of marketing / e-commerce play. We actually failed, we called it Social Tab. It was never launched because we went to the largest acquiring bank in Egypt and we asked them for API for acceptance. We wanted to accept a lot of payment methods. We asked them for an API for payouts to pay the affiliates. And the guy started laughing. I mean, he told me like, where do you think you are? This is not like Silicon Valley. I'm not PayPal. I am just a bank. You need to pay a setup fee, a maintenance fee, this thick of a documentation to integrate and open a bank account, and it's going to take you at least 6 weeks in order for you to get up and running, and this is only for card acceptance, and card penetration is not high. So I need to like go to other like 15, 20 other institutions in order to like capture like operators and like the Jazz Cash and the Easy Pass of Egypt, like Vodafone and Mobini, just to have a payment infrastructure that would enable this. And this was crazy for us to be able to do so. So we said, if we're bullish about digital economy and about digitization that happened all over the world, we should be bullish about a digital payment infrastructure that would enable this. So we said that if we fail to launch this, how can we build an infrastructure to enable other people who are far smarter than us, who we know that will come and gonna build their businesses around what we built. So, I mean, at first we hoped that a couple of thousand people will be using our infrastructure. Now, I mean, Egypt alone, we have more than 150,000. And definitely we're here in Pakistan because we see the 5 million SME opportunity. And we truly believe that in the next 3 years, we can have a bigger business in Pakistan than we have in Egypt. And that's why, I mean, we've hired this amazing team and we're very confident that they're going to deliver this.
Fingers crossed. And I met your team. There are some great individuals, but what kind of traits do you look for when hiring for a startup or when you're hiring for at least a scale up, especially when you're entering a new market? How do you identify the key individuals without really knowing much about the market in itself?
So we try to hire founders. We try to hire people that are hungry. I mean, we're as a team, we're very hungry. We're extremely hands-on. I mean, we love to tinker with things, and something that I really saw as a trait of successful people is that they are not afraid to fail. So a lot of people are always constrained because they feel that I'm going to fail. this is something that's very shameful. My friends are gonna make fun of me, my parents, or my like peer pressure. I feel that people who are successful, they don't mind that. And to be honest, in our organization, I always encourage people to fail. I mean, we discuss our failures. We air them, we discuss them. We don't blame each other for failures, because at the end of the day, like Paymob has been built because we failed to build a social commerce place. So I mean, something good is gonna come out of failure. But my advice is fail fast. Don't be like emotionally attached to things, and use data. So I hate like going into meetings that always start with I think, I believe, I feel. So these are things that I do not comprehend. I mean, like, give me data, give me like proof that what you're doing is right.
You're the Excel guy.
Exactly. So I mean, because I mean these like debates can go on for forever. I mean, I feel this and you feel that. How can it change how you feel? So what can change it is actually numbers. So I always ask people to do a lot of A/B testing, a lot of tests, like these small pilots, and then at the end of the day, just like you pivot and you have this open mind to change, and eventually you reach somewhere. However, when you reach a place where you feel that this is, I mean, a product market fit, just like scale it like mad. I mean, we went from 60 people to 1,000 people in 12 months. Because I mean, we realized we got this product market fit. There's this huge market. I mean, let's just scale.
So these are some of the keywords that we hear any founder or startup talk about pivoting, about growth hacking, A/B testing. So Badr, obviously, maybe you can help us, everyone here, kind of understand why is pivoting so crucial as opposed to sticking to your decision, and how do you kind of charter that fine line? And then also, what really is growth hacking, and why is that term so loosely thrown around?
I think pivoting is natural to any business, let alone startups. If you are seeing numbers kind of moving somewhere, and if you're not following those numbers, you're bound to fail, and that would be an intentional fail. So there was Agaz in Karachi. There's no more Agaz probably, or this like left behind. But at the same time, we had Al Fatah in Lahore, the same Al Fatah in a basement in Liberty. But this Al Fatah has now scaled to several branches and franchises versus Agaz in Karachi, which didn't. Very similar model, just the geographies were different. And I think it was just that pivot. They understood the market at the right time. Because when the Carrefours and the Macros and the Metros came to Pakistan, Agaz and everyone thought we are a stronger brand and we'll survive all of this. Whereas Al Fatah realized that this is going to change the landscape. And then all of them had to change again together, because then Dras came in and the Food Panda came in, which was no brick and mortar, and changed another landscape totally. So again, a lot of them had to pivot. So I can bet Al Fatah would have never started e-commerce in the next century had there been no Dras in the market. Airlift was doing really good from a very consumer perspective. I'm not sure what went wrong internally for them in terms of acquisition costs or whatever, but had they been able to survive for a while, actually that's where Islam earlier mentioned about scaling up. I also take a little different point of view, and especially since most of you are startups, is that not necessarily every startup idea is VC friendly. Right. So in case of Bramers and Fishery, we are not funded in any way. We were bootstrapped from day one. We are not like too big, of course, we are not even big. We are possibly boutique and SME in that category, but still we survived some of our competitors who did go big for a while, but then they fizzled out. I think scaling too fast at times is also a bit of a challenge. So I think pivoting must come natural to any business. Startups have to certainly pivot. I mean, they pivoted. He just gave you an example. They pivoted. Had they just stuck to the idea, they would have probably gone somewhere, of course, there as well. But I think, pivoting is not bad, because failure is not bad. It's not about failures. It's about the journey. There's no end to it. I think we all enjoy that journey as entrepreneurs, as founders. It's not about getting somewhere. it's about that daily routine and that daily something new every morning. I mean, at times, of course, 99% of times it's bad. There's 1% which is good, but you still enjoy that. You look forward to that one good day, actually. If I'm not wrong,
light
am I right?
at the end of the
yeah,
tunnel.
light at the end of the tunnel. So I think, and I totally agree. I think in Pakistan we have a taboo that, you know, if you started something, if you joined a company, if you experimented, and if you failed, it's taken negatively. But I think we need to celebrate failures. We need to learn from them and keep moving. And I think change is the only constant. So pivoting is part of that change. You can't stop. The moment you are stagnant, you are done. I mean, that's what I believe.
Right, and just want to add on to that. I haven't met a founder or a creator in the last 2 years who hasn't been thinking about raising funds, because it really became a fad thing, or maybe the only way that people...
But not necessarily VC funds. Could be institutional, could be other ways to raise funding. So that's what I'm saying. At times, VC founder fit is probably not the best fit.
Yeah, but then that was my good question as well. We're going to be like, for the founders that are in the audience, I always get asked this: what do we look for in our business model that we can show to the VCs that can kind of sway or tilt it in our favor? Like, what do VCs look at? What are the numbers? What are the percentages? What are the 3, 4, 5 main KPIs that I should be focusing on?
That's no more a secret. I think everything is online. You have the Y Combinator pitch decks. You have the startup schools and everything. I think the most important thing is the business must have real value. I think you must create value, and you're able to identify that value you have created. I think that's the only thing not just investors, but even partners, even your customers, you need to be very clear of your value within that niche. I think that needs to be identified. And even for your own self, I think you can't cheat yourself. You know, if you can't really identify that value. By the way, most of people try to cheat themselves by saying, no, I am probably the best, I am the largest, I am this. But I think you need to understand the value creation. It is not about being the largest or the best. It is about understanding what new value I'm creating within that value chain, and then keep on improving within that as well, and keep off and becoming a specialized person or a company or a team within that space. I think that is, so it's not about, like, Paymob already had a lot of competitors in Pakistan, technically speaking, but they found that niche where they're able to aggregate everything together under one roof and then simplify the process. I think those are small little things. Technically speaking, if you look at it from a very 30,000 feet view, they're doing the same thing which everyone else is doing as well. Yeah. So if I can go to HBL directly as well, I can go to Bank Al-Falah directly as well. But why go via Paymob is the value they are creating. I need to understand. They need to pitch and work with us as partners as well. And exactly like Fishery. Why, if people can go to Shopify, people can go to WooCommerce, Magento and everything, why Fishery? What value do we have for those SMEs? And I think that's where we have an alignment as partners, is what are the challenges in those competitors and how we are solving those. I think those little things. So any startup who understands that will be able to pitch naturally, organically, without copy pasting from anyone else.
Yes.
Right. If you want to add.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this. I mean, for us at Paymob, when we started, so we started in like 2015, 16, we raised $350,000 in order to just grow the business and just start and build the products. We stayed with those $350,000 from 2015 till August 2020. So we stayed for 5 years without any funding. Why? Because, as you rightfully mentioned, we didn't have first a product, we didn't understand the segment of the proposition, so we didn't want just to fundraise and just scale without having this direction. Because the problem with what's happening around us is that for the past decade, money or access to funds is very cheap. So I mean, people or VCs were like throwing money at startups because, I mean, money was printed. I mean, it was extremely cheap. Yeah. So the problem is with abundance of cash or with money, people just throw money at problems. So I mean, I want to grow my number of users, just like give them offers, just 20, 50%, whatever it takes. At least I'm going to reach the number. So that's why we see right now that this correction happening, because the way I look at it, exactly, there are like two types of like startups or actually businesses. There are businesses that are selling $1 for 70 cents. So and no wonder they're gonna sell an awful amount of dollars because it's very easy. Like if I'm selling 100 PKRs for 70 PKRs, I'm gonna sell billions like in 1 hour. And this is what these companies were doing, because to be honest, I don't think they realized the value they're bringing. They didn't take this time, so they were just like going and subsidizing the product and eroding, because they might be creating value, not for all segments, maybe for a certain segment. They didn't take this time, they were not patient enough, they wanted to grow, and they found the VCs to bank this, and at the end of the day, VCs realized that this is just like, we're selling $1 for 70 cents. Yes, the revenues are great.
The big fat GMV does not really matter.
Exactly,
actually.
And like this 2x GMV and 3, these kind of valuations, I don't know how people do it, but at the end of the day, because in Egypt we have the same, we have a lot of failures that happen from really very good founders. I know them personally. They're very good people, they work hard, but the problem, they were pushed to scale without understanding their value, so they did not capture value, they were subsidizing the product. So these are the kind of startups that, to be honest, I don't think they're going like to survive 23 and 24, because this era of free money and just grow and just banking people who are growing reach to a conclusion and to an end. And there are other startups. So we stayed almost 5 years without any additional funding because we wanted to have this product market. But once we had it, and we realized this in late 2019, we said we need to fundraise and scale, because we realized that this is a land grab. We knew that we have something that is very valuable to us, and we've seen that people want to pay for it, but we wanted to scale this drastically. So from August 2020 till May of 22, we raised $68.5 million US. And actually we went from 1,000 merchants. So in Jan 2020, we had 1,000 merchants on our platform. Now we have more than 150,000 merchants. We used to operate in Egypt only, not in all Egypt, just like the 2-3 cities in Egypt. Now we operate in 24 cities in Egypt and 3 cities here in Pakistan and 2 cities in UAE, and we're expanding to Oman and to KSA as well. Why? Because we realized that this is the value proposition. We had the patience to just try to understand what are we solving for, which segment, and then once you reach to this, try to scale. And I think this is when you need to raise. Again, raising is a mean to an end. I mean, we're not just trying to be, as you mentioned rightfully, I mean, the largest and stand like this and have the raised X millions of dollars. It doesn't make sense. If you don't have way to deploy them, then it doesn't make sense to have money in the bank or just subsidize products.
Oh, very well said. So I'm gonna have to wrap it up here. I'd like to thank Islam and Badr for joining us here and shedding some light on some interesting questions as well as building the conversation. There's some light snacks and lunch available, so please don't immediately leave and fill your stomachs before you do. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.